Aussies at risk of financial ruin. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article which is discussing, recent RBA interactions with helplines for people in financial stress. Now, is this a sign that Aussies are on the verge of collapsing financially? Or let me put the argument to you here. We have not had a real recession since, Labour were running the show with good old Keating. Remember the recession Australia had to have? I was a child in that time. That's right, a child. I wasn't bald. It's probably starting to go bald. So the question, could it be, are people on the verge of collapsing? Or is this the first step of people starting to, face reality and make some tough decisions because they've never had to? Remember the number of times we were looking at articles where there's a gentleman there complaining that he might have to make lifestyle decision or lifestyle quality changes just to afford a house. And yesterday we looked at that Reddit post where the person was saying they would do whatever they can. They're skipping meals, doing all this stuff to keep in a house because they don't want to be renting ever again. Their boomer parents are complaining why they don't fix up the house, not appreciating that the kids can't afford it because it's a different time. And, getting labourers is a nightmare. So let's look at this one, guys. Vulnerable to shocks, RBA's warning to the Australians at risk of financial ruin amid the cost of living and housing crisis. Yeah, and Labour's spending all their time on The Voice. Boy. An alarming new report from the RBA shows the next 6 months are going to be very tough for many of us. Really? Well, let's see. Look at the pictures I have, because this is in reading mode, this article. They got Trump there, so they're referring to him for something. The Reserve Bank has issued a stark warning about the number of Australians at risk of financial despair in the months ahead, with a spike in homeowners falling behind on mortgage repayments. Okay, are we at pre-COVID peaks? Or are we even at pre-COVID levels of people falling behind? If we're not at those levels, then should we worry? Are we just returning to the normal? The last few years weren't normal. Remember, they're going to play up the negative in the media all the time. Okay? This isn't me putting a spin on it. This is me having read this stuff for the last 5 years and looking at all the negative doomer predictions in the media and starting to get bloody jaded by it all. The RBA will do a modelling, a far-out modelling of a 40% cut in house prices just to see if the banks would collapse or not. And they're all latching on it, like it's going to happen. Okay, this is the problem. This is what you have to appreciate when you're looking at all this negative news. Because trust me, I'm a YouTuber. I look at it all out of interest and out of content. But if it starts dictating all the decisions you make in your life, you can head to a bad place. Okay? You can start going down this complete negative spiral. You can miss opportunities. So, skyrocketing interest rates and the cost of living crisis have decimated household budgets over the past 18 months, seeing many forced to deplete their savings to get by. The latest financial stability review, the RBA warns, continued financial pressures make a number of Australians vulnerable to further shocks. So there are a rising number of Aussies in financial stress. The RBA report showed the number of people falling behind on their mortgage repayments is on the rise, albeit from a low level. A small but rising cohort are now on the cusp or in the early stages of financial stress, it said. The share of variable interest rate owner-occupiers whose essential expenses and mortgage costs exceeded their income in July 23 is estimated to be around 5%. So what's it normally? Is that normal? That's the real question we have to consider here. Because you're always going to have some people that, frankly, are probably shithouse at their finances, or stuff has gone wrong, or a relationship falls apart. So, that's the reality of it. And it's not that these people are bad. This is just phases of life that we all go through at certain stages. That's normal. An estimated 6 million Australians have a mortgage on their home. If 3/4 are on variable rates and 5% have expenses exceeding their income, that equates to a staggering 225,000 people. Or households. Or should it be 6 million Australians have a mortgage? Anyway. So 200,000 people. The RBA data conceded those 250,000 Aussies will need to draw down on available saving buffers or find other margins of adjustment, such as additional work, to meet their essential expenses and scheduled mortgage payments. Okay? Or they could, well, yeah, I mean, that's what that's what you have to do. How is that unusual? This is where I'm saying we've had it so good for so long, making lifestyle changes. Okay, maybe you got to pick up another job somewhere. Maybe you need to do some, I don't know, Ubering. You know, isn't that normal? That's the question. I would assume that's normal, and that's how people are going to deal with it. It's estimated 70% of them will be in a solid position to do so, but the remaining third, 67,500 people, are now at risk of depleting their savings within 6 months. Well, then you got 6 months to get your shit together. Guys, find a way to do it. 6 months is a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people will have to make some tough calls. I mean, we had a garage sale on the street there, neighbours moving. Sold everything. That's one way you got to do it. I remember when I needed money, I sold all the electronic stuff I could, everything that wasn't nailed down, logged it off. The Apple stuff sold well. And then what was it, 3DS? It's okay, I bought a mini now. Signs of despair are clear, with the RBA noting financial crisis services reporting some are being forced to use buy now, pay later services to meet essential costs. So that just says your budget's screwed. I never imagined this. Aussies who bought a home in the past few years before rates began rising now face a scenario where their interest has jumped from about 2% to 6% or more in just 18 months. The RBA's report said borrowers on a variable rate loan, who account for 3/4 of all mortgage holders, have seen their repayments surge between 30 and 50% since last May. Yeah, I mean, everyone should have understood that a cash rate target of 0.1% was batshit crazy. And everyone should have been aware that whatever their repayments were, like we fixed in below 2%, okay, that's just a joke. It was super cheap money. So if people didn't expect the increase, maybe they didn't expect it until 2024, like the media said. Well, that's a few months away now. Shit, this year's going quick, guys. One man who spoke to news.com.au of his dire situation said the excitement of buying his first home was now just a distant memory. It was a place I could call my own and build a future in, he said. However, the dream has turned into a relentless nightmare as I struggle to meet my monthly loan repayments. Okay? Get someone else in there. Rent out the whole house. Move somewhere else. If you're a single bloke, get the rooms rented to help make your repayments. Rent out the house and go get a room somewhere. Live somewhere shittier and crappier and put up with it until you get more money. Well, don't people do that anymore? I never imagined that I'd find myself in this situation, but here I am, grappling with the overwhelming burden of mortgage stress. Then sell if you can't handle it. In recent months, he's cut back on every conceivable expense and sacrificed even the simplest pleasures in life to keep a roof over his head. But high inflation and cost of living pressures mean the rising price of virtually everything has eroded any ground he's managed to make up. He's now fearful of losing his home, and the stress of meeting escalating repayments is taking a toll on my physical and mental well-being. Or maybe he needs to lock in for a few years, or go interest only. Maybe he needs to seek some financial advice on how to get his stuff together. He needs to earn more money. That's what it is. I'm constantly on edge, anxiously checking my bank account and bills, hoping that some miracle will save me from this financial... A miracle isn't going to come and save you from the shit that is going on, okay? You gotta, I'm going to sound like such a bloody boomer. You got to get your shit together, pull your socks up, and work yourself. But what is he staring at his bank account? Oh, I hope it goes up. If you don't want it to go up, you get out there and bloody well work. Come on. I'm a bit disgusted, to be honest. He reached out to his bank in desperation, but said the options offered are limited. Refinancing to a lower rate is not one of them due to his fragile financial situation. Well, yeah, he's stuck in mortgage prison. He borrowed too much, borrowed too high. I feel trapped, suffocating by the weight of my financial obligations. Mortgage stress has become an all-consuming reality, and I can only hope that one day I'll find a way to regain control over my life and my home. Oh, what do you reckon, guys? What would your advice be to him? Maybe sell if he can't handle the stress. He needs to make more money. I mean, if you're a single bloke, you can still get a room somewhere, can't you? They're not, well, around here, some of them are going that expensive. What about swag? His situation is far from unique. This week, news.com.au exclusively revealed that hundreds of thousands of Aussies are flooding financial counselling crisis services in need of help. I thought that was from RBA. Okay, I guess they exclusively revealed it. The National Debt Helpline, which offers free financial support by trained counsellors, received a staggering 105,000 calls so far this year, data obtained by news.com.au showed. Ordinarily, mortgage stress doesn't rate in the top 5 reasons for people contacting the NDH, a spokesperson said. But it was the number one issue people seeking help for the past 4 months. Well, the cash rate has gone from 0.1% to 4.1%. It's gone up 4%, which is an insane increase in such a short time if you didn't think it would happen. So, of course it's going to be there. This is a unique situation. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Hopefully, knock wood. A source from one service described the scenario playing out as having reached a critical mass. Roy Morgan measures levels of mortgage stress each month, and its latest figures for August also paint a dire picture. It found 30.2% of all mortgage holders are now deemed at risk of slipping into stress, which equates to a record high 1.57 million borrowers. On top of that, more than 1 in 5 are now extremely at risk, which is another 1.06 million borrowers. These figures are concerning enough, but if the RBA lifts interest rates further over the next few months, perhaps due to renewed inflationary pressure, with energy and petrol prices so high, these numbers will continue to increase, a Roy Morgan spokesperson said. It just seems a bit funny how the RBA has this one lever to pull, and it's going to influence the housing market, which doesn't play too much into their CPI figures. And it's going to hurt a whole lot of people. How's that going to affect the prices of oil? It might affect the Aussie dollar, but that's driven by the expectations of the Chinese economy too. So you tell me, how's it going to work? Maybe they shouldn't have overheated the bloody market to an insane point with their crazy cash rate crash to 0.1%. Government coming to the rescue and stimulating the housing market, and lockdowns. We're not going to learn, are we? We're not going to learn from any of this at all. It's just, this is why you've got to prepare for the government to screw you over one way or another. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, you sometimes have to go through the pain this guy's going through to get your shit together, really. The RBA concedes there are risks ahead. The vast majority of mortgage holders will be able to continue meeting ever higher repayment costs, but they've been forced to make significant sacrifices, the RBA report conceded. Isn't that what the whole point is? They want to reduce consumer spending to force manufacturers, suppliers, and retailers to reduce prices so inflation goes down. And to do that, they have to inflict pain on us all. In part, this is because some households have gained additional work, reduced discretionary consumption, and are drawn on savings buffers. The income and savings positions of borrowers have allowed most to continue to meet their essential expenses and mortgage payments. Very few have fallen behind on their loan payments or sought temporary loan modifications. In the event that more borrowers become unable to service their loans, only a very small number would be in negative equity on their mortgage. As a result, losses to lenders are expected to remain low and manageable. Many Australians were able to squirrel away savings, and borrowers are sitting on decent levels of equity in their homes, meaning most remain well placed to manage the impact of higher inflation and higher interest rates, the RBA report noted. Nevertheless, the pressure on household budgets and business profitability has increased over the past 6 months. A growing number of economists are tipping the RBA may increase the official cash rate by the end of the year, potentially as soon as November. Consumer research by CanStar released this week showed 69% of mortgage holders are worried about their ability to keep making payments if interest rates rise again. 8% are already behind on their repayments, 19% who will simply not cope under the weight of further pressure. There is a good cause for community-wide concern, CanStar's finance expert Steve Mickenbacker said. Many borrowers feel they are on a cliff. The rise of the working poor. Charities say they're shocked by the volume of requests for help from Australians who are employed full-time and have otherwise strong household incomes. St Vincent de Paul in New South Wales said its members have provided assistance to 86,000 people across the state so far this year. We're seeing a new demographic of people turning to charities for support over the past 18 months, a Vinnie's New South Wales spokesperson said. Well, remember when we saw the food bank lines and people in like a $60,000, $70,000 brand new car there going to the food bank. Does that scream? Well, no, I keep thinking back to that one article we looked at where it was a professional couple, like a project manager and warehouse manager. Each would have been over 6 figures. They were thanking the banks for the mortgage holidays because they wouldn't have gotten by otherwise. Maybe we need to make Dave Ramsey consumption mandatory for all Australians so they learn about, a savings buffer, an emergency fund. It's been very concerning to see a growing number of people in employment and families on dual incomes reach out in times of desperation because of cost of living. Historically, the people who have sought assistance from our services have faced more acute and visible forms of hardship and homelessness. However, in recent months, the increasing demand for assistance from people in stable work has been quite alarming. The phenomenon of working poor is something that has been viewed as largely an American concept and something that could never happen in Australia. This is no longer the case, the Vinnie's New South Wales spokesperson said. We're seeing that alarming trend creep closer to home. Parents are choosing to scale down or completely skip their own meals so their children can eat. Yeah, you only need 1 meal a day. You can go home, Matt. Okay, 1 meal a day. We didn't evolve to eat 3 meals a day, guys. Come on. I guess this isn't accepted. They still have to follow the dietary guidelines, all of this stuff. So you got to eat every 3 hours and snacks. It's bullshit. Do they really think people did that when they were in a hunter-gatherer society? Come on. Of course, they probably all believe the noble savage narrative. It's all bullshit and Disney and, singing birds and tweeting crap. And they're choosing to not switch on heating or cooling facilities due to the increasing unaffordability of energy. Oh, my father wouldn't do that anyway. So let's have a bit of a chat about this one, everyone, eh? What do you reckon? So, what do you think? Is this a sign of people on the verge of financial crisis? Are we going to have a wave of working poor barely struggling to get by? Or is this just people facing reality and having to sort their lives out? What do you reckon? I mean, we've all made stupid decisions. We've all gone through good times and bad times. That's just the seasons of life. And sometimes they can be valuable experiences that you can learn a lot from. And I'm hoping those are for many of these people. I feel sorry for the guy there who's suffering under mountains of mortgage stress. Maybe you've stretched yourself a little bit too far there, mate. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, opinions on this one. Thanks for watching. Check out HeiseBim or Heise does when I eventually put content on those channels. If you want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon. Use the referral links, buy pocket squares, or call me if you need an architect. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.